Wait, Pensacola had a red light district? Hi there, I am Pensacola historian Joe Vinson, and for Valentine's Day I thought I'd take a stroll down the line. This stretch of Zaragoza Street between Palafox and Balin, what's now dubbed Fred Levin Way, because that's the Levin Papantonio firm's building right there, used to be the hub of Pensacola's red light district, or Tenderloin district, back when our port was full of ships and lonely itinerant sailors flush with cash to spend on vices. This strip was named the Line because of the density of brothels all in a row. How dense, you ask? Well, let's take a look at the Sanborn Fire Insurance map from 1907. The buildings are labeled with their purpose, so S stands for shop, D stands for dwelling, Sal stands for saloon. Those are all pretty standard. But then you'll see also these buildings marked FB. That's the Sanborn Company's abbreviation for female boarding house, and it was a euphemism for a bordello. If you count, you'll see there are 16 buildings marked FB just in this 2-block stretch of Zaragoza Street, plus a few more on Balin Street. Incidentally, see those 2 buildings marked ruins? Those were the 2 remaining structures of the Panton-Leslie complex, the main headquarters of which burned down in 1848. If one of those buildings looks familiar, it's probably because you're familiar with the little dollhouse replica that was built there in the 1950s. I'll talk more about the Panton-Leslie company some other time. So, how did Pensacola, deep in the Bible Belt, have a red light district? Was prostitution legal? Let me quote this 1975 article by James R. McGovern. Although the existence of bordellos, let alone an established red light district of 3 to 5 city blocks, clearly violated the law, neither local authorities nor citizen groups made sustained efforts to eliminate them. The community found itself in the ironic position of condoning organized vice for its own betterment. In effect, local citizens preferred that the law be broken in a restricted area under careful observance rather than to permit lawlessness and immorality to spread into the rest of the community. It was so accepted that the city directory actually identified the proprietors as madams. In exchange for a blind eye, the madams were expected to maintain order in their establishments and to inform police about less acceptable forms of crime. The occasional raid and subsequent fines were considered part of the cost of doing business, and they hired physicians to examine their girls for diseases. Archaeological excavations led by Leora Sutton in the 1960s and 70s discovered all sorts of bottles and paraphernalia that give a glimpse into the working reality and social conditions of these women. Credit to Jacqueline Lee Rogers for her 2014 thesis on this topic. Medicine bottles contained antiseptics like mercury bichloride and Listerine, which at that time were commonly used to treat syphilis and gonorrhea, respectively. Condom tins and other products used for contraception like Vaseline and Lysol were also found. A lot of familiar brand names here, I know. Many of the bottles discovered in the red light district were from Modeste Hargis's pharmacy, which makes sense because of its proximity to the district and because it was the only woman-owned pharmacy in Pensacola. The best known of Pensacola's madams was Molly McCoy, who operated a 20-room bordello at 15 West Zaragoza Street, about where I'm standing right now. She bought it in 1893 after a fire destroyed the previous building on Balin. We don't have any photos of Molly herself or the building in its heyday when Danton Walker described it as, quote, the most elegant and expensive whorehouse in the district. Walker was a well-known Broadway and gossip columnist for the New York Daily News, who in his memoir described a visit to Molly's when he was a young man. Quote, her name was in gilt letters on the glass door. The ceiling was high and the windows floor length, masked by curtains of cherry-colored satin. The walls were papered in gold and there were gilt chairs upholstered in a fabric the same color as the curtains. A wood fire burned brightly beneath a white marble mantel, causing a lively sparkle among the crystal ornaments of the chandelier. As part of my Lost Pensacola series of vintage posters, I created this Victorian-style advertisement for Molly McCoy's with red, black, and metallic gold inks. The idea is that maybe Pensacola had guidebooks for visitors to the district, like the Blue Books of New Orleans' famous Storyville, where an ad like this might have appeared. I think it's pretty cool, and you can check it out at lostpensacola.com. It's also on the back cover of Norm Haynes' excellent book on this topic. By the time Molly died in 1920, the district was already in decline. The collapse of the local timber and fishing industries resulted in fewer ships at the port, so fewer customers at the brothels. This clientele was replaced somewhat when the defunct Navy Yard was reactivated as the Naval Aeronautical Station, but with that came more pressure by the federal government to shut it down, which happened temporarily during World War I. Prohibition in the 20s and 30s meant a lot more alcohol-related raids, and as the U.S. prepared for the possibility of entering World War II, the Navy was again worried about their aviators and personnel contracting venereal diseases. And in March 1941, officials declared a quarantine that ended the red light district for good. Because of the notoriety associated with the Zaragoza Street name, people started calling it Liberty Street, and Molly McCoy's house became the Liberty Hotel. In 1950, the Waterfront Rescue Mission purchased the building to serve as their headquarters. They had a fitting slogan: "I was a stranger and ye took me in." It was demolished in 1966, and some of the bricks were used in the subsequent building, which has also since been torn down. Only one of the houses of ill repute has survived to this day, currently occupied by a law firm, the world's second oldest profession, you might say. As for Molly McCoy, there's an urban legend that if you visit St. John's Cemetery and rub her gravestone, you will have good luck in your love life. And that has always seemed a little disrespectful to me. Whatever your plans are this Valentine's Day, maybe leave the dead people out of it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Follow for more Pensacola history videos, and let me know in the comments what topic you'd like to see me cover next. And happy Valentine's Day.